1999, in a school so far away, there was a senior that went by the name of Q, albeit he will be referred to as Quentin. He would. And that's where the story begins. We begin this story with Quentin waking up and not knowing how to properly manage his time in life, thus causing him to technically be late to school, but not exactly?
Hey, wait a minute. This isn't a
We reveal ourselves to Ben, the lonely one, Mark.
Actually, I'm someone found to have been outcast or forsaken.
Okay then, let me just change my notes real quick. And there. Okay, let's try this again. Ben, the nerd, Lacey, that one friend that nobody talks about, Margot, the random girl, and Radar, the one who had a nickname that now doesn't work but won't change anyway because of how late school is at the moment, being late in April as of this point. Everyone mentioned earlier except Margot eats pizza discussing the upcoming prom, where everyone rants on Ben, saying he will not end up with a date on prom. Ouch. Classes are hard, school is boring, and Quentin just wants to die.
Dude, I'm definitely not a suicide.
Quentin, stop. You're misunderstanding this a bit too much. It's something we call expressions. After class, Quentin gets home when Margot is finally properly introduced, being Quentin's next door neighbor. Margot asks Quentin if he wants to take a trip around Orlando with a reluctant yes from Quentin. After taking off, Margot decides to go to two major places, the first being SeaWorld Orlando. They get in through a lake that they miraculously cross without any alligator issues. After wandering through the inactive park, they are discovered by a security guard who is very bored and wants Margot for whatever reason, and Margot would obviously say a certain word consisting of the letters N and O. I really wonder what that spells. Maybe, on or something? I don't know. Considering the circumstances, Margot and Quentin are let off the hook scot-free. They then take off for the SunTrust building where they meet Gus, a security guard that used to go to the school Margot and Quentin currently do. Thus the reason Margot knows him, given how he was also a senior when Quentin and Margot were currently freshmen at the time. This would also explain the reason why they also got in the building scot-free. It's from here that both view the skyline from above and see all the houses they just passed, seeing the nightlife activity. Once finished, both pack up and send off for home. This is where Quentin falls asleep at... What time was it again? Oh right, 3:39 in the morning. Understandably, Quentin wakes up with only 20 minutes left until school, ending the first act. To begin Act 2, Quentin returns to school when he sees Margot not there. This is perfectly normal, as Margot's gone often, but everyone can really feel her absence this time, like she is out of state gone. It takes a couple of days before Quentin finally concludes that this isn't a normal kind of absence from Margot. This is where Quentin finds the first clue leading to Margot's current location. It's a poster of Woody Guthrie, taped to the back of Margot's window. With that, Quentin makes his way to the record of Guthrie in Margot's room, and from there he finds an underlined reference to Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We are not done with the clues, however. The second clue deals with pseudovisions being confused with paper towns and believing that Margot had committed suicide, given the pseudovisions than the morbid Walt Whitman lines.
Hey, I'm not suicidal.
With all the clues surrounding Margot's apparently not so deathly death, Quentin, realizing that Margot likely killed herself, cries.
I said I'm not suicidal.
Quentin comes the next day with a crying Lacey, who, coincidentally, came up with the same idea that Margot died, albeit Quentin telling her nothing. The entire friend group goes to the local ELA teacher to find the true meaning of Walt Whitman's worrisome wording, only to find out that these words are, entertainingly enough, not about ending one's existence, but rather the exact explanation to such essay. Quentin is not relieved by this, however, and rather looks for more pseudovisions, finding nothing in the process. Except for the mini-mall. Upon returning to the mini-mall, Quentin notices the hole in the particle board made by him and his friends from earlier had been taped up, and realizes that the doors open inward, and Quentin wouldn't even need a break-in for this to work. With a flashlight, Quentin makes way to the office, where he notices a travel guide from 1998, long after the mail was done for, and sees several more travel guides, all from after 1986. Over the course of the next couple days, Quentin brings his friends to these clues and all had different theories, but all agree that Margot had been there. Quentin, on the day of his graduation, decides to look at the Omnictionary, an online user-curated website regarding geography about to glow. There he finds that Margot clearly left a comment regarding that the population of a glow will be 1 until May 29th at noon. Here's the thing. Quentin's graduation was May 28th. I think you can see where this is going. Quentin realized he had just under 24 hours until Margot would leave permanently, and Quentin would never know where else Margot may possibly be. With that, the end of Act 2 is nigh. Act 3. The final act. The finale to this story. The thing that will end... Oh, shoot. Well... Quentin, Ben, and Radar all take off in Quentin's minivan. Destination Margot in a glow. With all the calculations of Radar, he estimated that a non-stop trip should take no more than 22 to 23 hours. I'm presuming that they start here, given the clues earlier in the story, naming the school by Winter High. Given that, everyone in the van makes it to Interstate 4 within 45 minutes, given the congestion of Orlando. After traveling on 4 for about 2 hours, they meet Interstate 95 near Daytona Beach, turning north. Given 2 more hours, and Jacksonville has been passed, barely. Their first stop is 3 hours later in Georgia. Given the time, it is likely Richmond Hill, where Radar and Ben stock up on food with Quentin refueling on the van or taking off later on. Past Richmond Hill, another 3 hours later, it's Fuller in South Carolina, just south of it, where everyone hits non-stop construction until a state line, which isn't too bad. They're already nearing it, but the bad news is that this will put them all 2 hours behind schedule. Just as they cross the state line, construction ends, and everyone refuels once more. With the passing of another 3 hours just past the state line into Virginia, everyone gets involved in an accident with the impassable Loba. Quentin slams the brakes and thinks that he's dead for sure. For whatever reason, they all think they're dead too. Everyone sleeping knows nothing, and then a certain automobile decides to introduce themselves. The aftermath was horrible, yet miraculous. The car sustained heavy damage in the front, and while Quentin and Ben were injured, everyone else was fine. Unfortunately for the seniors, their supply of alcohol was depleted. At least they now won't drive while drunk. With minimal damage and a driver swap to someone who is not injured, everyone takes off, whereas Quentin goes to sleep for 6 hours. Quentin wakes up to realize that he's in New York, 15 minutes away from Margot's location with an hour to spare. Upon arriving in the Glow, also known as the Paper Town, Quentin finds Margot's car near what probably used to be the Aglow Market. Upon entering the barn, everyone finds Margot at her desk staring at Quentin, Radar, and Ben dead in the eyes. There, she explains the entire story of what she did to plan this entire act.
Well, it was when I was a 4th grader, writing a detective novel with myself and my crush back then, Quentin. Ever since then, I decided to start plotting getaways from everyday life. This included the trip to the Mississippi. The previous year, however, was when I plotted my true and final escape. And where else would I do it than inside the abandoned mini-mall? However, upon learning about my boyfriend cheating on me, I decided to leave early. I left the Guthrie poster as a clue to incite Quentin to explore the world around him. After that, I went to the mini-mall to cover up my tracks in hopes of preventing Quentin from ever finding out where I was. And clearly, it wasn't enough. If it was, then you guys wouldn't even be here.
Dude, I thought you died.
No, because as said earlier in the video, I'm not suicidal. Wow, they actually didn't cut me off this time. Anyway,
Margot then feels like she has deep cracks inside her, causing her to call her parents, telling them not to worry. After that, Quentin and Margot lie down in the surrounding grass.
I am sick and tired of you cutting me off, you freaking narrator. Can't you just let me finish my monologue?
Fine.
Thank you. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, I'd painted an image of Quentin being loyal to me, of which you somehow filled that out to succeed in. Good job, Quentin. I guess. Well... Narrator, could you help me out here?
That's what I thought. You can't finish the story without my supervision. Well, let me help you out here. Both Margot and Quentin then dig a grave for little Margot and little Quentin, signifying that the past is over. Both then talk about the difficulties of life, with Quentin using metaphors to make sense of it all. Finally, Margot says that Quentin can come and stay with her in New York, but Quentin refuses, reasoning that he's got a life back in Orlando to get back to. With that, the two hug each other, hold hands as they head to the car until Quentin lets go, gets in the car with his friends, and takes off for Orlando.